Hey, what's up you guys? It's Silver Sun here, and today I'm going to be giving you guys my review on One Punch Man Season 2, Episode 2. Alright, so this episode starts off with Garo finally being introduced to be this, well, he declares himself to be a monster, even though he's still a human and whatnot, but he's pretty much not on the hero side or the villain side. He's with the monsters and such, and to demonstrate this, he goes on to beat up all the heroes and villains that were in the association in that building that they had, where they piled them all up to try and stop that whole end of the world prophecy. But that obviously didn't end up going quite the way they had planned, and so Garo pretty much leaves to go off and train. And he'd be back in the next 6 months to basically declare war on them, I guess. And so pretty much he's off to go improve himself, and pretty much it cuts to Genesis Saitama pretty much being in the old apartment. And I thought it was pretty funny because Saitama was just playing on the PSP the whole time, playing on King's PSP, and then Genesis pretty much just going on to tell him that Saitama actually got a rank up. He went higher in the class B. He's at rank 7, I believe, and Genesis is still in class S, but um yeah, they've improved a bit since last season and such, and pretty much there's like this knock at the door. So Genos goes in to see what's the matter, and it's Spear Sound Sonic. He's pretty much there to get that rematch with Saitama, with him being his rival and all. And Genos is like, no, I'm not gonna let that happen. And then we pretty much don't even get to see the fight. We cut back to Saitama like 20 minutes later, still playing on the PSP. But then there's another knock at the door, and it's Fubuki. And she's pretty much there to offer him into her group because she's rank 1 in class B, so she's pretty much at the top in that class right there. So she pretty much wants Saitama to work under her so that then she could feel more superior and just better than everyone else, because her sister, what was her name again? Tatsumaki, how could I forget? She she Fubuki pretty much has this inferiority towards her sister because she's pretty much like the best Esper there is, and Fubuki's just kind of, in the shadows of all of that, just kind of thrown to the wayside in that sense. So basically, she just uses the rankings and the numbers associated with the Hero Association to make herself feel more important, to make her feel uh, more superior, to give her some sort of worth in that sense. And so pretty much she wants Saitama to join so that then she could again feel that sort of, to gain that kind of superiority over people, something that she hasn't really had much of. And so Saitama's thinking about it, and he's just like, well, no, it doesn't really matter to me. I don't really care about the ranks or how powerful anybody else is, because there's always going to be lots of tough enemies out there, and there's not really like the strongest person out there. You could say like he has a different mentality to hers basically, and they were squaring off a bit. She went in, she conjured up like this tornado basically, and Saitama was just like juking and like dodging everything that she was throwing at him, and he was like all up in her face. He was about, well, he wasn't about to punch her, I don't think, but like it was it was getting pretty action packed, especially when Genos and Sonic were in the background. They just popped in and they started fight, or they were continuing fighting as well, and Genos actually had some upgrades because even Saitama states that he's a bit faster since last time they sparred, and basically him and Genos and Sonic are fighting, and Genos is getting the upper hand on Sonic until he pretty much releases his ultimate technique, to where he starts like creating all these different kinds of after images around Genos, and it's hard for him to keep up. You can't even sense his movements anymore. But before he could do anything to try and stop this, Saitama just walks in, and he pretty much just sidesteps really quickly, and then that throws Sonic off, and he pretty much just beats him like that. And so after that whole ordeal, um, they're all just in his apartment pretty much, and Fubuki's pretty much wondering why, you know, why he has a rival like Sonic. How come everybody's so so drawn to him and whatnot. How come King's here, asking Saitama for like, his game and stuff like that. How are they affiliated with each other? How come Genos is his disciple when Genos is a class S, where Saitama is a class B? Doesn't make sense to her. And pretty much Genos goes on to explain that it's because he's real powerful and whatnot. He's the One Punch Man. So that's kind of the reasoning behind that. And basically, it seems like they're on good terms so far. Saitama and Fubuki, and I gotta say this episode was pretty good. Like, I mean, this is the first episode we really got any action. Um, well, I mean, the first episode obviously we had some action and stuff like that, but this one, like, we got at least like two little fight scenes here, and it was okay. Like, obviously it's not gonna be as good as season one, but they did a good job. Did a good enough job. Everything looked pretty good, for what they had. Um, but as far as like the story content and what was actually involved in it, I did enjoy the fact that Fubuki is pretty much like in their circle, pretty much Saitama and Genos and stuff like that. I like how uh, King and Saitama are pretty much just like pals and stuff like that. They're over here trading video games and stuff like that, and just hanging out and whatnot. That's kind of cool. Um, and Sonic's, still being Sonic and whatnot. And also, I do like the inclusion of Garo so far. It was a nice introduction. He pretty much just went in and just like destroyed everyone in the building and everything like that. And then he went out and he started fighting even more heroes and whatnot. He was in this alleyway with this one hero and he was just beating the crap out of him. And then that was pretty much the end of it. And I can't wait to see what happens or what becomes of that, especially when he faces Saitama, because he's going to be in for a rough ride, or it could be the other way around. Maybe Saitama might actually have a worthy opponent this time around. If this guy is able to like outclass most of these heroes and whatnot, I mean, only time will tell. But so far, I thought this episode was a pretty good one. I did enjoy all the fights and I mean, well, now that I actually think about it, the fight with Garo and all the other heroes and stuff like that seemed kind of lame in my opinion. Because if I remember correctly, there was a lot of like still shots and a lot of cutting. Like it would cut from scene to scene, and it wouldn't actually show the attacks being landed or like any like kinetic action going on or anything like that. It was just like, oh, character does this one move, and then it cuts to the end result. Like what happened after the attack landed and everything like that. And I don't know, I just don't like that. I'd rather see the whole action go through. You know what I mean? So in a way, they're kind of corners there. But for what it's worth, it was enjoyable nonetheless. I do like the storytelling. If anything, the jokes still landed and whatnot. Still had that One Punch Man feel. It was a pretty funny episode actually. I liked probably one of the funniest jokes was when Saitama was at the door talking to Fubuki and her subordinates, and pretty much they wanted him to step outside to greet her, and he just stepped outside like he didn't care at all, and he was just like whatever, like, hey, my name's Saitama, how you doing? He wasn't very formal in that sense, and I just thought that was like the funniest thing. Um, but yeah, they had some pretty good jokes in there as well, and so I feel like that kind of makes up for the lack of animation. I mean, we'll see, maybe they'll have some. Maybe they're saving their budget for more grandiose battles and whatnot. Like it doesn't have to look like A1, right now. Even though season one, it pretty much looks like amazing from start to finish. You know what I mean, more or less. But in any case, I'm being optimistic here. I'm willing to give it a shot. I mean, at least the story is still progressing, and there's lots more things going on, and the humor's still there, and that's all I could really ask for in this kind of thing. When a series gets changed around, um, with different like staff and stuff like that, to at least keep the core like reasons and the fundamentals on why the series was so great in the first place. And I feel like they're staying true to that. They're staying true to the source and being consistent with it, more or less, even if the animation isn't quite up to snuff. But it wasn't all about the animation, you know what I mean? And at least it still has that same One Punch Man feel to it. So this episode was pretty good in my opinion. Comment down below, tell me what you guys thought, and until the next one, Silver Sun is out.